Now for this video, we're going to identify extraneous solutions. So we'll see what happens when sometimes we're solving these absolute value equations and we'll get something that's called an extraneous solution. And so an extraneous solution is a supposed solution that must be rejected since it does not satisfy the original equation. So sometimes when we're solving these absolute value equations, we'll get two different answers, but one of them is not actually an answer. And so to check if a solution is extraneous, we're going to plug it into the original equation, and if we end up with a false statement, we know it's extraneous. So let's go through a couple of examples. So this first one, I have the absolute value of 2x plus 12 is equal to 4x. So I know my first step when I am solving the absolute values, I want to first isolate the absolute value. This one's already isolated, it's by itself on the left-hand side. Next, I'm going to write two equations. And so my first equation, I'm going to have it be with a positive answer. And then the next one is going to be 2x plus 12 is equal to negative 4x. So solving this first one, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So 12 is equal to 2x. Then divide both sides by 2. So yeah, x equals 6. Solving this next one, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And then divide by negative 6. And so I get that negative 2 is equal to x. So I have two answers. However, I want to identify the extraneous solution, and so I'm going to check both of these solutions. And to do that, I'm going to plug both of these back into the original equation. So checking x equals 6, I'm going to plug in 6 for x. So I have 2 times 6 plus 12 is equal to 4 times 6. Well, 2 times 6, I get 12 plus 12. 4 times 6, I get 24. 12 plus 12, I get 24. And absolute value of 24 is 24. So here I get 24 equals 24. So that one checks out, and that one is a solution. Now let's try plugging in x equals negative 2. So I have 2 times negative 2 plus 12 is equal to 4 times negative 2. 2 times negative 2, I get negative 4 plus 12. 4 times negative 2, I get negative 8. Negative 4 plus 12, I get 8. And the absolute value of 8 is equal to 8. So I get 8 equals negative 8, and that is not true. So that means that x equals negative 2 is not a solution. So my only answer for this one is going to be x is equal to 6. And so you could have recognized that over at this step right here when we had that the absolute value is equal to a negative number. And if you remember from previous video, we know that can't happen because absolute value is always positive. And so you could have stopped there but if you didn't recognize it right away, you can come all the way to that last step where we see we have 8 equals negative 8. Okay, let's see another situation where we have something different happen. So here I have the absolute value of x plus 5 is equal to the absolute value of x plus 11. And so here I have absolute value on both sides of the equation, so I know I'm going to have them in my first equation first be equal to each other. And then in the second equation, I'm going to have them be opposite of each other. So I'll have x plus 5 is equal to negative x plus 11. And remember, when we're placing that negative, we want it parentheses around what's inside of our absolute value, because I'm taking the negative or the opposite of everything in there. So solving this first equation, I will subtract x from both sides. And I see something weird happens. My x's cancel out, and I'm left with 5 is equal to 11, which is not a true statement. So this equation actually doesn't give me a solution. And so I just move on to the next equation. Solving this one, I'm going to distribute my negative, and so I have x plus 5 is equal to negative x minus 11. Add x to both sides. Since I want to get all of my x's on one side of the equation, subtract 5. And then divide both sides by 2. And so here I get x equals negative 8. So this one apparently looks like it only has one solution, but of course we know that extraneous solutions are possible. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in negative 8 back in to my equation. So I have negative 8 plus 5 absolute value is equal to the absolute value of negative 8 plus 11. Negative 8 plus 5, I get negative 3. Negative 8 plus 11, I get 3. And when I take the absolute value of negative 3, I get a positive 3. When I take absolute value of 3, I get 3 as well. So it checks out. So my answer here is x equals negative 8. So here we see that we ended up just having one solution as well.